Hi everybody, welcome to Meconomist. Well, I'm an idiot. I attached my camera to the window via this handy dandy suction cup thing, and then I tried to roll the window down while I was driving around a curve, and the whole setup almost flew out the window. But luckily it didn't, and all that happened was I got this filthy residue on my window. I don't know if you can see that. It's not too bad. It'll probably just wash off, but whew. All right, stop being an idiot. Let's get back to it. So a couple weeks ago, I did a video about how a used Porsche Cayman can actually be a really good daily driver as long as you're willing to put up with a few concessions. But of course, if there's one thing that a two-seater sports car is better at than being a daily driver, it's being a weekend driver. And in particular, this video is targeted at people who are like me, who are very busy with their job and with other personal goals and things like that, and you don't have a lot of time to actually spend with your weekend car. So what kind of car works best when you have a lifestyle where you only get a few hours every week or even a few hours every month to actually drive it and spend time with it? I would say in cases like that, you want three key things. It needs to be low maintenance so that you don't have to spend a lot of time taking care of it, and it doesn't spend a lot of time in the shop. Because the last thing you want is to come home on a Friday night and want to go out for a drive Saturday morning, but your car's in the shop. Or come out to your garage on a Sunday morning and it won't start. So low maintenance is key. You probably want a car that's versatile enough to handle a wide variety of weekend activities. If you're a busy person, there's probably a lot of different things that you want to do with your car, and you might not be able to afford a car for each specific thing. Maybe you like to autocross, maybe you like to tinker around, maybe you like to do modifications or aesthetic adjustments, things like that. You want something that's pretty versatile and maybe something that'll help you get your other weekend tasks done in a way that's a little bit more fun than just a typical sedan. And last, and possibly most importantly, you want your weekend car to be a treat. You want it to be a special experience and something that feels a little bit elevated over the day-to-day driving that you're going to do. That's obviously the whole point of having a weekend car in the first place, is it's got to be something above and beyond just a normal car. So overall, you want to get the most pleasure out of your driving for the least amount of time, if that makes sense. So here's why a Porsche Cayman fits each one of those key points perfectly. First, on the maintenance. So personally, I'm not a big tinkerer when it comes to cars. I'd like to do a lot more, but again, I just don't have the time these days to kind of sit down and open everything up. And I also know that I don't have a huge talent for it, but I know there's a lot of you out there that aren't like me and actually have a talent for tinkering with your car and making changes mechanically or electronically. And that's actually perfect too, because a Porsche Cayman like mine, you're always going to have something that you can work on and fix, but you're almost never going to have something that you have to get done. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for example, this headliner is something that I could work on. The headliner started sagging a couple months ago, but I just pinned it up with some safety pins, and it works perfectly fine. It's not sagging, it's not getting in the rearview mirror. That was a 2-minute fix, no big deal. However, if you do have a talent for fixing interiors and upholstery and stuff like that, that could be a good weekend project. I would love to update my head unit, or at least get some kind of USB input into the stereo system. I have a bit more experience with electronic stuff than I do with mechanical stuff, so that's a weekend project that I could work on if I really got that itch to get out my soldering iron and start to mess around with that and get it working, but I don't have to. That's the key. It's not stopping me from enjoying the car. The setup I have now works perfectly fine for all my music listening needs, and it's not preventing me from driving off. Another great thing I've noticed with my Cayman is that the battery keeps really, really well. In previous old cars that I've owned and driven, if you leave the car in one place and don't touch it at all and don't turn it on for a long time, the battery dies. Or at least it won't have enough juice in it to start the car up, and you'll have to jump start it. With my Cayman, the only time it's ever run out of battery and I haven't been able to start it was when I left my radio adapter in, or when I left my radar detector plugged in for like 2 weeks. then the battery did die. But I've left it in this parking garage at my apartment for like a whole month before without ever touching it or anything. Come back, starts right up just like new. In fact, this happened recently because I was very busy with work at the beginning of the month, and then as soon as I got done with my work project in the first week of June, I went straight to London, spent a week and a half there, and then I came back to Houston for one night and then flew down to South Texas to work on more work projects. And I haven't even touched my Porsche. I haven't even seen my Porsche until today. And the last time I saw it was like June 1st. And here's a quick video of what happened this morning when I came to go check it out. Okay, so I'm about to go take my Porsche to the car wash because I haven't driven it in like a month, almost a month. It's been about 3.5 weeks since the last time I drove it. It's just been sitting here in the parking garage, chilling, and hopefully this is an opportunity to demonstrate how well it does when you do just leave it there, because usually it just starts right up just like normal and it's perfectly fine. So let's check it out. Hopefully the battery's not dead. Hopefully it's all working like it normally does, and this proves my point that if you're a very busy person, a Porsche Cayman is a great weekend car because you can always rely on it to be ready to go when you are. Okay, so approaching the car. Let's see. It's the key work. Hey, okay, nice. All right, it's very dirty. That's why I'm going to the car wash, obviously. Lights are on, everything working. Look at that. Trusty old Cayman. Now it is giving me an air pressure or tire pressure alert, but it's been doing that for a while. I think there's just something wrong with the sensor because every time I check it, the tire pressure is fine. I'll check it again just to be sure, but it's normally perfectly fine, and there's just something wrong with the sensors. But yeah, AC blows cold. Right away, cold air coming out of the AC. Not bad. So a good comparison would be when I had a 1990s Miata. It was super easier to fix. Way easier to fix mechanically and electronically than this car. But it also needed a lot more fixes. There was a lot more things that were starting to not go right, and little noises that were coming from the engine that had to be fixed, and had to change the oil a little bit more frequently because it was over 100,000 miles. So there was a lot more sort of nitpicky things that needed to be done with it, even though it was pretty easy. Porsche Cayman has been solid as a rock. Again, knock on wood. The Miata also had a soft top, which is a very common feature on a lot of weekend cars. When it comes to soft tops, especially the vinyl type that I had on the Miata, if you leave them out in the weather, or even if you just leave them in a garage for a really long time and you don't give them any kind of flex or motion, they can get kind of stiff, and the sealants can start to crack over time. I mean, that's gonna happen no matter what you do. And so you'll start to get leaks and things like that. And so obviously a hardtop roof saves all of that hassle that you have with a soft top, and you never have to worry about any of that stuff. Versatility. The Cayman is such a good weekend car because it's so versatile. If you're a track person or an autocross junkie, you're good. The Cayman will make you look like a hero, or at least you'll feel like a hero on the track. If you're more of a public roads, putz around, just kind of have some joy rides like me, you're going to be more than satisfied with the Cayman. And since it's not super overpowered like a V8 Mustang or a 911 or something like that, you can still have a lot of fun within the legal speed limits and without getting in trouble with the law. I think if you had a brand new Cayman from like 2018 model year, you could definitely get in trouble if you try to have too much fun. But an 07 Cayman like mine, you're really not going to get in too much trouble unless you're really trying. But that's not to say that it isn't a fast car when you want it to be. You have more than enough power to have a really fun time at the track or at an autocross event or anything like that, if that's the sort of thing you're into. As long as you know what you're doing, you'll be able to pass a lot of people, even in just a base Cayman from 2007. The other nice thing about a used Cayman like mine is that it's cheap enough that you feel comfortable kind of having a little bit of fun with it. If I was driving like a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 Porsche Cayman or 911 or something like that, I might be a little bit more nervous because I know that anything goes wrong with a car that expensive, it could bankrupt me. At the same time, a Cayman is great for all the other stuff that you have to do in a given weekend. There's very few circumstances where a Porsche Cayman doesn't fit right in. For example, you wake up Saturday morning, you can go to Cars and Coffee and you'll be a hit at Cars and Coffee because everybody loves a Cayman. Then you can take your kid to soccer practice or take your spouse to yoga practice or whatever. Or is it practice? I don't know what yoga people do. Anyways, then you could go grocery shopping, drop off your groceries, go to autocross, get back in time to change for a night out. Then you could go to a restaurant and your wife or boyfriend or whatever loved one won't be embarrassed to be stepping out of a car like this, even though it's an old Porsche, because unless you're a real car person, you're not going to know the difference between this and like a much, much more expensive car. So if vanity is important to you, then you're fine. The best part about a Porsche Cayman, though, is that it makes everything you do on the weekend feel just a little bit more special. And I think that's the most important job of a weekend car. For example, just this morning, I went grocery shopping in my Cayman, and it was actually a lot of fun. It's only like a 5-minute drive to the grocery store, but I got to zing it around some corners a little bit, and I rolled the windows down, listened to the engine a little bit. But when I got to the grocery store, I could fit all my groceries in there, no problem. They stay nice and secure in the back, and it felt special. And then there's the obvious fact that the Porsche Cayman is a 2-seater. When new car manufacturers come up with a new model, they usually first imagine a customer, and they try to get very specific with that customer, with what are their hopes and dreams, what are their preferences, what's their lifestyle like, what's their budget, all those important things. And having a specific customer like that, as opposed to sort of a generic outline of what you're looking for, it gives the designers a more rigid, specific direction, so they don't just get way too imaginative and crazy with it. It helps the engineers stay within a budget so that they don't make a car that's too expensive for the customer to buy. Things like that. So as you can imagine, when you're designing a 2-seater sports car as opposed to a sports car with more than 2 seats, you're thinking that this customer is probably going to be a weekend driver, and that this car is probably going to be a second or third car that's mostly meant for pleasure. That means that the Cayman has been designed from day one to be a perfect weekend car. The engine likes to rev, and so far this car's never failed to put a smile on my face, especially when the sun's out and you got the windows down and you can hear that engine scream. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I don't know if you can tell. And if you're a busy person like me, you know you don't have to worry about your Cayman during those times when you're not able to drive it every week. You can get your hustle on knowing that it'll be waiting and ready to go as soon as you get back. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've got a lot more videos planned coming down the pipeline that I'm hoping to push out in the next few weeks, so stay tuned, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.